The hosts and guests on Everything's Messy podcast are not licensed healthcare professionals. The discussions in our episodes are not personalized medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider for medical guidance. Never delay seeking professional medical advice or emergency assistance because of our podcast. We encourage consulting with a healthcare professional before making any significant health changes. By listening to our podcast, you agree to the disclaimer. Thank you for listening to Everything's Messy podcast. Hey, welcome to Everything's Messy podcast, where we celebrate the beautiful but messy life experiences that most, if not all, people go through. Get ready to embark on an exciting journey through the raw and unfiltered stories of everyday people. Here, we dive into messy realities of life, from making messy mistakes to triumphs and everything in between. Are you sensing a theme? That's right, it's messy. But this just isn't about the mess. It's about finding strength and resilience in the midst of it all. We'll explore how health, fitness, and wellness play a crucial role in navigating life's twists and very messy turns. And we'll challenge conventional systems, because sometimes the most unconventional paths lead to the greatest discoveries. Join us as we embrace the messy, beautiful, and endlessly fascinating stories. Each episode is a testament to the power of our messy journeys and the beauty that emerges from the mess. So grab your favorite beverage, coffee, sparkling water, whatever it may be, and prepare to be inspired. Are you ready? Let's get messy. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Everything's Messy podcast. I am your messy host, Sarah. Okay, today I'm going to do a quick breakdown, not so quick, of mineral deficiencies. You know, we always talk about hydrating, not drinking water isn't enough, and we need electrolytes. And electrolytes also meaning the minerals that we need. And I think I talk about it a lot, but I'm not sure that I've broken it down a lot. So let's get into it a little bit. Won't be too long of an episode, but I think it's important that we kind of keep the conversation and the dialogue going. Shout out to my dad, my brother, my sister-in-law, and my stepmom. So they did a 5K. FYI, sister-in-law is, I don't know how many months pregnant. I wasn't keeping track, but she's, I want to say 4 or 5 months pregnant, maybe a little bit more. So excited. She looked so cute. They were able to do this 5K, and just big shout out to them. Dad came in 3rd place, and just, I love to see the family doing these things. I hate being so far away, but I'm glad they were able to do that. So big shout out to them. Okay, so mineral deficiencies and what symptoms you might be feeling depending on what mineral you're lacking, right? So we all know the big one is sodium, salt, whatever you want to call it, Na on the periodic table, right? Dizziness, lightheadedness, things like that are the first things that you're going to see or feel when you don't have enough sodium. People are like, well, I'm drinking water. Okay, but you're maybe not drinking enough water. But you might also not be having the correct electrolyte / mineral that you need, okay? Also, sometimes no sodium can be low energy, confusion, headaches, nausea, vomiting. And people often are like, no, I don't want the salt. It raises my blood pressure, okay? So we have talked about before, there's different kinds of sodium. You have, the McDonald's sodiums on top of the McDonald's fries, which is not the best for you. And you're not going to get a whole lot of, good return on that investment. If you're using even table salt with iodine, a lot of us with thyroid problems, you got to be careful with that iodine consumption, especially if you're not taking selenium to combat and process that iodine. So be real careful that you're using a good salt. I have talked about the Muldoons that I use. I love it. The Redmond salt is also really good. These are all coming from the earth. They're not over-processed. They don't have a high microplastic content. That's what we need to be looking for when we're looking at salt. And I've talked about the salt before, but we're going to get a little deeper into the minerals. So next up, potassium. So what might a symptom be with potassium? Muscle weakness. We've got here, irregular heartbeat and palpitations. This is a big one, especially my type 1 diabetes out there. Potassium seems to be lower for us. I don't understand completely the medical reason for it, but you will have had experienced the heart palpitations for sure. Your potassium is low. So we want to make sure that you're paying attention to that. Also, fatigue, tingling, numbness, and unfortunately, constipation. So again, you can have all of those symptoms. You can have one or two of those symptoms, but just be kind of tracking and making sure you are up to par with the minerals that our bodies require. And again, my diabetes out there, it is different for us. We need to bump it up on the mineral scale. Okay, next up, I have talked about this, magnesium. Everybody knows someone or is experiencing yourself. I know my stepmom, she suffers from this a lot, restless leg syndrome. That means you're not getting the right amount of magnesium. You're also maybe not taking the right kind of magnesium. Remember, there are 7 different kinds of magnesium out there, and each play a different role. Each play a factor on what you're, missing. The ones that are thrown around in the multivitamins or even the gummies that they talk about is an overuse of magnesium citrate. If you are not constipated, magnesium citrate is going to have the opposite effect, and you're probably going to make you stop taking whatever that supplement was. So make sure you're looking into magnesium glycinate, magnesium oxalate. There's 7 different kinds. So just make sure you're making sure you're taking the right ones and paying attention to your symptoms. I will put a checklist up on my website and maybe a link to it from my Instagram account so you can not only see the symptoms, but the 7 different kinds of magnesium and the other mineral deficiencies we're talking about today. So, obviously, especially for women, but men too, we always talk about making sure we're getting enough calcium. So, some of the symptoms for not enough calcium: numbness, tingling in our fingers, muscle cramps, spasms, brittle nails, bone pain, tooth decay, osteoporosis, and fatigue or irritability. This is something that I think we talk about hormones with irritability or perimenopause or other different things like that, but it could simply be a mineral deficiency of why you're irritable. So make sure you're getting enough calcium. So again, iron. We talk about iron on this podcast so much ad nauseum because we're talking about the carnivore, we're talking about eating red meat, but there's so much more that goes into it, as our ferritin levels, our blood levels, our iron levels. We need a certain amount of iron. Now, too much iron, or depending on the source of how you're getting the iron, absolutely, it can, again, make you constipated. But it can also, if you're lacking in iron, fatigue, weakness, pale skin, shortness of breath, cold hands and feet, dizziness, brittle nails or hair loss, and again, restless legs. All right, so let's break the next one down, because again, this goes hand in hand with those of us that are dealing with thyroid issues or Hashimoto's, which I am dealing with both. So zinc. Now, I have a sensitivity to zinc. I have to be very careful in how I consume it and how much I take of it. My stomach does not like it. It gets very upset with it. So I have to be careful with it. But the zinc, low on zinc, is slow wound healing. Again, for my diabetes, that's something that we have to worry about anyway. Hair loss, loss of taste or smell, which I think is really interesting. I know when we were in the throes of COVID, there were a lot of people coming out that this was one of their symptoms. It could have been that, right? I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV, but it also could very well just have been they needed some more zinc. You can also have frequent colds or infections if you don't have enough zinc. That's why they always tell you around flu season to kick up your zinc. And then skin issues like eczema, acne, and rashes can also be a symptom of zinc deficiency. So it's really important that you are paying attention to this. I always say when you're starting to chart a new symptom or you're starting to watch something, write it down. Get a baseline. Yes, I could obviously, go get it tested, but it's hard in minerals to really get a good idea. You have to go off how you're feeling. All right, next up, copper. If you are low on copper, fatigue, weak, fragile bones, poor immune function, neurological issues, And again, numbness and tingling, pale scale, or anemia-like symptoms. So you might be being told, oh, just take some more iron. It may not be iron. It may be copper. How are we getting enough copper? And we'll get into what you need to take if you're low in these things, but I'm just giving you the symptoms first of, it's kind of a rapid fire today. So that's copper. The next one. So this again goes to my thyroid besties, my diabesties, and Hashimoto's out there. The selenium. It is imperative if you are taking any kind of dissected liver, or if you are taking any dissected thyroid replacement, you need selenium to help your body break it down. So if you have hair thinning, brittle nails, brain fog, muscle weakness, frequent infections, a weakened immunity, and/or thyroid problems, you're not taking enough selenium. Now, that's not to say if you start adding selenium in, you're going to be cured of your thyroid. But what it will do, especially for those of us like me, if you're like me, on Armour Thyroid, which is the pig thyroid that's supposed to be very close to our own thyroid ability. It's not the synthetic. Those of you that are taking levothyroxine, I couldn't take it. It's the synthetic. It gave me migraines. It was really, really bad. So switching over to the pig helped a little bit. But here's the problem with that. So with Armour Thyroid, you have T3 and T4 that your body is getting pill form. But a lot of times people will see in their labs, their T3 is down and their T4 is up, or it's unbalanced the other way. And here's what's happening. Our Armour Thyroid is a fast-acting medicine, meaning your body is done absorbing it in about 6 to 8 hours. Again, not a doctor. Don't play one on TV. This is what I know. What we want to accomplish in taking the thyroid, and again, just talk to your doctors about this, especially if you're having trouble or they're wanting to increase your dosage. Try first taking half of whatever your dosage is in the morning on an empty stomach, and then take it again around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Hopefully you've done with lunch, you're not quite ready for dinner. Take it the second half of your dose then, because then we're stacking the T4 on top of each other, and the T3 is having we can try to process it and get it matched with our T4. And I know this sounds kind of complicated and like, what are you talking about? But it's delicate. The thyroid is delicate. And with pig, not synthetic, we kind of have to help it along, especially because you get T3 and T4 in your Armour Thyroid or other natural dissected, which you wouldn't get in a synthetic product. So just be talking to your doctor about timing. And then if they're like, well, we think you need to up your dosage, maybe just ask if you can try to space it out. I know for me, it made a difference taking it at 2 different times. So think about that. And then with the selenium, make sure you're taking the selenium with it. I think, I only take it in my supplement with the morning dose. I haven't really added a second dose. I think I'm on the right track, though. It's doing something. But again, everybody's different. You may have to play with your dose. Again, talk with your doctor, but you are going to have so much better results in whatever thyroid medicine you're taking if you are also taking zinc and selenium. Those are crucial to your thyroid. All right. And then the last one that I want to go over is the phosphorus. If you are short on this in your body, you will have muscle weakness, soft or weak bones, fatigue, irritability, there's that word again, and poor appetite. And so that is something to really, really pay attention to if you're not hungry or you should be hungry. It's been a while since you've ate. Now, again, those of us that try to fast, I try to do a 14-hour fast every day. Sometimes I can go 16, sometimes I can't. But it is very important that you match the fasting with what your body does need, with what your thyroid needs. I've seen a lot of people on Instagram, TikTok, where they're talking about fasting is if you can do a 4 to 5 day fast or cleanse or whatever they're talking, it resets your whole body, it gets rid of all this stuff. To me, you really make sure you do your research on that, because Again, especially with women, the hormones that we're dealing with, depending on the time in our cycle when we're starting to do this, you're going to mess with it. May be worse for you than doing it. Like, you want to make sure that you're in that balance, that sweet spot, because it may not do for you what you think it's intended to do. Same with when I talk about a parasite cleanse. You want to make sure that you have prepared your body to detox and do the things. I had somebody reach out to me the other day and they were like, I'm afraid to do the parasite cleanse. I don't want to see the worms or come out or anything like that. And I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on how much parasites you might have in you, but you want to make sure with a multiple day fast or with a parasite cleanse, you are preparing your body in order to do that. If you just quit on, your regular food consumption and you just decide, oh, okay, I'm not going to eat for 5 days, you're going to put your body, especially women, it'll be shock, it'll be trauma. Your body's going to try and overcompensate. It could be worse for you than what originally intended. And again, your body, if it senses trauma, if it senses it's not going to get another meal, your body's going to hang on to the fat it already has. So if you think by doing a 5-day fast is going to help you drop pounds, it all depends on how you do it. And if you shock your body system, you're not going to have the results that you want. So just be super careful with that. And again, with women, and depending on their cycles and their hormones, you don't want to be giving your nervous system any more shock than it's probably already been through or anything like that. So just be careful. Okay, so now let's get into what we can do to maybe combat it naturally if we do have these mineral deficiencies. So again, the first one being salt. Obviously, I'm talking about the sea salt. This particular article that I'm reading comes from nutritional, I don't even know what that word is. Nutritional Celebrate Nutrition. I don't know. It's all mixed together. I'll post it. But here's what they're recommending. Obviously, the sea salt, which I talked about, celery, beets, seaweed, and naturally mineral-rich spring water. You wouldn't think that you could just drink water and have your sodium, but again, it's the kind of water you're drinking. We talk about adding our electrolytes. I have my Redmond Light every morning because it's got all of the good electrolytes in it, which are the minerals, which are bought. We need that. It's not just about drinking water. In fact, again, sometimes people don't realize they're actually drinking too much water. They're depleting their body from all the minerals they need, and they're just flushing it all out of their body. And then they wonder why they're so thirsty and drinking more water and they're still dehydrated because you're not replacing the minerals. Okay, potassium, bananas, avocados, sweet potatoes, beans, salmon, and coconut water is going to give you that uptick in potassium. Now, again, there's a lot of supplement minerals out there that you can, just take in a vitamin form or a gummy form or whatever you want to do. But trying to get the most natural form of that mineral that you can is optimal. That's what we're trying to do, right? For the potassium, they recommend that it's best spread out throughout the day, and it works well alongside the sodium for electrolyte balance. There's that word. So we want to make sure we're taking the two together. Again, magnesium. There are natural ways to get it, but again, I will list the 7 different kinds. I don't know how this works with the food, exactly which one you're getting, but they're saying for natural sources, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate, and they're specifically putting in there 70% of cocoa, and then cashews, leafy greens, and black beans is going to be a natural source to get that magnesium. Now, I supplement with a magnesium pill because I need a really high dose. It helps me sleep better. It helps me with brain fog. So I'm doing magnesium glycate and magnesium. I don't know. I have to grab my bottle. Again, I'll post it, but it's, I'm taking over 500 milligrams at nighttime. It helps me sleep. It helps my heart. It's just I think magnesium we really need to pay attention to. So calcium, obviously milk. I am a big proponent. If you are a listener of this show, you know that I am always talking about raw milk, raw milk, raw milk. It is the best and most natural, and You won't be able to find that through the ultra filter, ultra processed milk or any nut milk. And in fact, I think I saw they had to change their name because milk doesn't come from a nut. It is only from a mammal. So now it's called malt, whatever it's called. It's not milk. It's fine if you're using it. I don't use it, but I'm, big proponent of raw milk. Obviously anything dairy, yogurt, cheese. And then something I found interesting, which I didn't know, I'm not a lover of them, but I didn't know, is that you can get calcium from sardines, bok choy, which is interesting, and sesame seeds, which I think you'd have to eat a whole lot of sesame seeds to meet the daily calcium recommendation. And then because it has an absorption issue, and I do want to say really quick, those who have a problem with milk, if you haven't tried raw milk, see if that is easier on your stomach, because there's something in the lack of something that isn't in the raw milk. I forget which way it is. Boy, I'm on a roll today. Like I said, this is rapid fire. So just try the raw milk. I know both my kids were lactose intolerant. We always had to buy Lactaid. And then when we started using goat milk, that's another great one, and raw milk, they had no issues whatsoever. So just be mindful of that. And so again, the absorption of it is best absorbed in smaller doses. So a piece of cheese, half a cup of milk, whatever you can do that's better for you. The yogurt, again, which has the great probiotics, stay away from the sugar yogurt that has, it's masked with nothing but sugar. Make sure you're getting a good raw yogurt if you can. And it does have a calming effect, which is why they always said drink a glass of milk at bedtime. It'll help you sleep. So that if you can do that, you should. But it does have it can block absorption with iron. So you want to make sure if you're taking an iron supplement that you're not taking your calcium supplement at the same time. Also, for those of us thyroid Hashimoto's, you do not want to take your calcium supplement or milk or whatever when you have taken your thyroid dose. You don't want to do that. It's not going to absorb the way it needs to. Okay. And then of course we talk about the iron, getting it from red meat, pumpkin seeds, spinach. I don't think you're going to get the amount that you think you're going to get in those things. I just encourage the red meat. And you want to pair it with a vitamin C rich food like citrus, bell peppers, and that will actually absorb it better. Avoid taking it with calcium and or coffee and tea. Isn't that interesting? And it is best if you can take iron on an empty stomach. Those of us taking thyroid, it's really hard, which is why I do subscribe to the red meat, because having to take an iron supplement was very tricky and I didn't need it to be that complicated. All right. And then zinc, naturally, we all know the word oysters. Again, beef, lamb, pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds seem to be a lot in the mineral category. So shout out to those pumpkin seeds. And then you want to time it best to avoid nausea. Don't pair it with iron or calcium at the same time. They compete for absorption. So again, all of these little rules that maybe weren't known around COVID, or maybe it wasn't even zinc, but it could have been, we need to make sure that we're paying attention to when our bodies can best absorb it, depending on what we've taken with it. Copper. So liver, oysters, mushrooms, sesame seeds, cashews, dark chocolate. And it's usually not, there's no thing that it competes with for absorption, and it can keep balanced zinc. So high zinc, although it says can deplete copper. So again, that sweet spot, that balance. All right, then we talk about iodine, seaweed, kelp, fish, cod or tuna, and iodized salt. Again, those of us with thyroid, I know I sound like a broken record. We have to be careful with the iodine consumption. And then let's see, selenium, which I've already kind of touched on. Brazil nuts. They're saying just 1 or 2 Brazilian nuts covers your daily need. That's huge. It's probably cheaper, though I don't know. I think some Brazilian brands are pretty expensive, but it is probably cheaper than even buying a supplement. It's a natural form to help you. And tuna, sardines, eggs, mushrooms. And it says morning or midday with food, and it works synergistically with iodine for thyroid health. But again, be careful with that iodine for your thyroid. And then last up is phosphorus. We've got ways to get it: meat, poultry, fish, eggs, dairy, nuts, seeds. And there's no timing on it. Your body will absorb it. It doesn't fight for absorption. And that is really great because we want to have those phosphorus. So I say, instead of chasing the perfect supplement or gummy or something like that, I would say always start with your real food first. It's going to give you the best results. It's going to give you the most natural results. It's not filler. You're not spending a ton of money on supplements. We've talked about before on this show about, supplements are a multi-billion-dollar industry. They have fillers and things in there that may or may not, you may not want that in your body. So getting the best that we can do for our body through food is always what I'm saying. Again, selenium, 1 or 2 Brazilian nuts a day, that's fantastic. Again, don't do all of these at one time. Start tracking your symptoms, start writing them down, start seeing where you might be lacking. I know, especially with a lot of the clients that I talk to, the very first thing that we discover is they're not well hydrated and they don't have the minerals or the electrolytes that they should have. And it's a common problem for all of us because it's not something that we think about. We think, oh, we're drinking water. I'm drinking, how many of these a day of all my water? But if you're not pairing it with the electrolytes, again, it's just any electrolytes that your body has, it's just flushing it out. And then you're dehydrated because you've flushed out everything that your body needs to, process. And we don't need that much water. I know the health experts and the people that are trying to push, 8 to 10 ounces of water a day. I'm not saying that it's bad, but if you're not adding the electrolytes with it, it's not doing what you think it's doing. That's my opinion. So rapid fire, got through the electrolytes, got through the symptoms of what you might be deficient in. Sometimes I like to do these mini episodes where we just go super fast. And again, I'll post the 7 different kinds of magnesium. Make sure that you are looking at, the glycemic index for your carbs, especially my diabetes out there. And there is, and I've talked about this before, if you are looking specifically for a Hashimoto/thyroid protocol, you need to go check out Isabella Wentz. She does the book Root Cause. She has tons of information about the protocols that she puts in place, how she can get Hashimoto's to go dormant, be in control, not have flare-ups. Her information is invaluable. I do encourage you to go check her out. I have no affiliation with her whatsoever. I just love her information. So let me know what you think. Again, I will post all that stuff. And if there's something that you want to talk about as far as electrolytes or anything else down the wellness rabbit hole, I am always ready to discuss that. And with that, that is another episode. Thank you for listening to Everything's Messy podcast. See you later. Thanks for listening to Everything's Messy podcast. Whew, if you made it this far, give yourself a gold star or at least a nap. Honestly, if you showed up today and you were listening, you've already crushed it. I'm so grateful for you listening. If anything hit home, Share it, tag me, write it on a sticky note. I don't care. Just don't keep all of this messy goodness to yourself. You can find me on Instagram at Everything's Messy Wellness or over at my website, everythingsmessywellness.com, where I've got resources, coaching, and probably a new rant about blood sugar or something that's just nonsense. It's all waiting for you. Check out my YouTube channel. I've got all of my podcast episodes up there. And I'm on X at Everything's Mess. Or if you just want to send me an email, Sarah at everythingsmessywellness.com. Look, until next time, hydrate, take no crap, and as always, keep it messy.